Hello there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be taking you through a menu walkthrough of the Herelink digital FPV system from the guys over at Profi CNC and Hex, and they are the guys that make the Cube Pixhawk 2.1 flight controller. Now before I get into it, I want to thank the guys over at 3DXR in the UK. They very kindly sent this over to me to have a look at, and it's allowed me to be able to share this with you guys. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description of this video. Please do check it out if you want to buy the Herelink system or you want to buy anything for your Pixhawk flight controller. They are a fantastic dealer in the UK and they really do have almost everything you would ever need, so please do go check them out. Now in this video I'm going to take you through everything. Please bear in mind a few things. What I'm showing you today is a very early release. This software is in its earliest stage. It is far from finished. It is only going to be improved upon. So if you look and think, oh, well, it hasn't got this and it hasn't got that, don't worry. The guys over at Profi CNC and Hex are listening. There is a huge amount to come for this yet in the future. What I want to do is take you through a basic walkthrough today of what the settings are, what they do, and what to expect from the device if you were to pick it up now. Okay, so before we get started, there are a couple of things I should explain. There are two sets of settings available on the Herelink device. The settings for the device itself and the settings for your flight controller. I'm currently connected to a Pixhawk Cube via Herelink, so you can see I've got telemetry data along the top. There's no video because I haven't got a camera connected at the moment, but you will see settings for the Pixhawk as well as the unit itself. So when you are doing it, you do need to make sure that you know what settings you're changing and what they are actually for. Now, I'm going to take you through the very basics of Cube Ground Control. It is the same as the normal app that you can get on iOS or Android. So you can look at a lot of this stuff if you want to externally, but the basics are you've got your Cube Ground Control settings and then your flight controller settings there, and I'll come on to them a little bit more in a minute. You've then got your options to do waypoint missions, and then you've got your little paper aeroplane, which is for your main flight screen. You'll see that we've got the option of video in a minute with the map screen down the bottom. I haven't got this connected to GPS, so Wi-Fi, so it's not showing maps, but you can switch between full screen maps and full screen video. And as I said, I haven't actually got the camera connected, and that's why it says waiting for video. Along the top, you have all of your telemetry information that comes across from your flight controller. So the little speaker gives us the option of seeing what errors, and that would show you what errors are on the flight controller. You've then got your GPS status, your telemetry status, your RC link status, and your battery information. And again, that is all derived from the ArduPilot software via Herelink. Next to that, you can see it says acro, and acro is the flight mode option, and you can simply press it and it'll give you the option to choose a different flight mode. So whilst the Herelink system doesn't have any hardware flight mode switches, you can easily change your flight mode by simply pressing on the screen, and then doing that, and you can quickly change as simple as that. Next to that is it says disarmed, and if you press it, it'll give you the option to arm the flight controller, and as it's sitting on the desk, I'm not going to do that right now. Next to that in the corner, you'll see the rate option, and this is where it shows you the rate data from the air system to the remote. You will know that your air system is connected to your remote properly when that is bouncing around. When you've got video, you'll see the numbers bounce around a lot higher, but when you're just doing controlling, you'll see it bounce around a lot lower. When nothing's connected to the air system, it will bounce around about 10 kilobytes a second. But again, if that isn't moving, the chances are your RC is not connected to your air system properly. Below that, you've got your two data dials, and then you've got this little box down here, which gives you the option of changing it to different screens. So the first one gives you the option of values, and this allows you to set custom views for various information. So at the moment it's got ground speed, flight time, board temperature, altitude and voltage, and you can change all of this, and again it's all information that is coming over from your flight controller via Herelink. Below that, you've then got the option for camera settings, for the trigger options, and you can use that for manually triggering if you've got that set up with the flight controller. You've then got the video stream options. Now this sets what input your air system uses. So if you're using HDMI 1, it would be stream number 1. If you're using HDMI 2, it's using stream number 2. You've then got the option to turn the stream on and off. So if you were using no camera and you just wanted to disable it, you can simply do that. Turn that back on. Sorry, I'm struggling because there's a screen protector still on this, so it's not quite as sensitive as it should be. If I pulled it off, it would be. You've then got 1080p video option. Now what that means is when that is on, the resolution of the video from the air system to the ground station is 1080p. You can turn that off and then it will drop down to 720p if you want to do it. So you have the option of 720p or 1080p depending on what camera you're using and what settings you want to choose as well. Below that, you've got the option to turn on grid lines, and when you've got a camera connected, it either shows grid lines on the screen or it doesn't. And then you've got the option to record the video stream, and that allows you to record it to the device, so if you want to play it back in the future, you can. Next, you have the options for the unit itself, and to get to these, you choose the little Q in the corner, which gives you the overall settings for the ground station itself. And as I've said, this is not your flight controller, this is the ground station unit. You've then got the option to set distance readings in meters, area, speed and temperature settings, font size, color scheme. Again, all of the usual settings you would find within Q Ground Control. You've then got comm links, and again, that's a feature if you want to set that up. You don't need to do anything with this outside the box, but if you did want to use that, that is there for you. The next option is offline maps, and this allows you to download maps to the device to use whilst you're out and about on your Wi-Fi, when you've not got Wi-Fi available, I should say. So that is a real nice feature within Q Ground Control, and you can use offline maps. Marveling settings are there if you want to change them, and again, I didn't touch anything on these whatsoever. It just worked out of the box, but they are there if you want to mess with them. I would suggest not touching them unless you have an absolute need to, or you know why you want to change them in the first place. Console gives you all of the warnings from the flight controller and all of the warnings that come through. And again, because my flight controller is sitting on the deck, it's giving me loads, and it's just giving you the live information as it's coming across from the flight controller. The last option on this screen is called D2D info. This is the radio control screen, and this is what shows you the link information to your air unit. Now, this isn't very easy to understand in its current form. It's fairly straightforward, however, I do think it could be a little bit easier if I'm honest. In the center of the screen, you've got a spectrum display which is showing our connection here on this channel here. Now you'll notice some 47 numbers down the bottom. This is one of the areas I think it could be a bit clearer. This unit uses 2.4 gigahertz. However, they've used a random set of numbers to decide what channel it's on, and it doesn't really bear any relation to the assignment on 2.4 gigahertz license-free band or the frequency. So it makes it very hard to choose a custom channel if you wanted to know specifically what it was. But this is the spectrum display. You've then on the bottom here got the UL10M, which is the upload bandwidth, and the option to set that is 1.4, 10 and 20 megabytes, and that is defaulted to 10 megabytes, and that is the bandwidth that the RC control link uses on the upload to the air system. Next to that, you've then got DL20, and that is the downlink bandwidth, and you've got the choice again of setting it to 10 meg or 20 meg. I've left these on default, but again, if you wanted to get further distance, the general rule is reducing the bandwidth should give you a bit better distance overall if you wanted to do that. The button next to it is called Calibrate, and that is how you bind the unit to your receiver. And I have done that in my setup video if you want to go check that out. But to do it, you would simply press Calibrate, and then once you've pressed that, you would simply hold the bind button in on the air unit for 3 seconds, and it'll come up with a message and say connected. It really is that simple. The next couple of options over here are all relating to manual channel selection. Now, I'll start over on the right hand side. You've got the option between auto or manual, and that is either auto channel or manual channel. If I select manual, it gives us the reading that says succeed. Now, to choose a manual channel, you can simply just tap on the screen at the location. So I'm going to tap here. You'll see that the frequency has changed in this box here, and what that's showing you is what frequency I've now selected. The box next to it is, I believe, showing the signal to noise ratio, and then the box here is showing me the current channel. So if I press it somewhere else, you can see this one will change again, and press it down here and it will change again. If I'm happy with that position there, you then click OK, and it will then jump to that position. So what you have the option of doing is selecting, clicking OK, and it will say succeed, and then you can see that it's moved to there. My problem is with this bit, it's all a little bit confusing, and whilst I understand it and I get my head around it, I do think users will struggle with this a little bit, and I think they need to tidy it up. This is a beta, so that should be taken into account as well. This really isn't a final unit, so hopefully we'll see a lot of changes around this area. But again, because I'm in manual, I can then just tap there. You can see that box there's changed. It's showing me I'm currently on 47259 and it'll change to 47625. Hit OK, and then boom, you can see that's jumped to 47625, and that's where I am. So it's fairly straightforward to use manual channel, and you can also type them in as well. If I tap on the box here, it'll actually give me the option of typing in the frequency, but because it doesn't bear any actual relationship to the actual 2.4 gigahertz band, it's all a little bit confusing, if I'm honest, and it means it's not very easy to work out. But that's the manual channel selection, and then if you want to go back to auto, just hit auto and bang, you're all ready to rock and roll. Now, that is the settings for the device itself. To look at your flight controller settings via your Herelink connection, you click the little cogs here, and this gives you your overall flight controller settings. There is something to be aware of though. One of these screens isn't. One of these screens is the settings for the joysticks on the device, and this is something that is a little bit confusing and you need to get your head around. The summary screen gives you just the information on each of the options within this menu system, and if you do tap the top section on it, it'll jump straight to that screen. But basically, summary gives you an overall view of the options that are available. Now, before I move on, if you saw the little yellow box up there whinging, it's because I'm using beta firmware and using beta firmware on the flight controller, and they're not quite lining up, and it's giving a few error messages, so please do ignore them if they pop up. So the summary gives you an overall of what your basic settings are set to. Joystick, if I tap that again, gives you the joystick settings on the device itself. Now, this is not your joystick settings that are within ArduPilot or your Pixhawk flight controller. So if I move the sticks, you can see everything moves around. When you first get this, you're going to need to calibrate your sticks, and it is within this joystick screen. Now, to calibrate, you simply click the calibrate button and follow the process through. It's really, really easy. You just tap it, do as it tells you to do, and it's nice and straightforward as that. In the top right hand corner, you've got your mode options, so mode 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got your axis monitor, and again, it's showing you the movement on the sticks as well. Down here, below channel monitor, you've got extra channel settings. This is where you would set the assignment for the programmable buttons on the remote controller. So A, B, C, and D along the bottom here. So if I click extra channel settings, I'm able to assign the channels from the transmitter to one of these buttons. Now, out the box, this is 9 channels in total. So you have the option from 5 to 9. To set it, you would simply then choose count of keys. So how many keys do you want to activate that channel? So you could set it to actually be A and B or just A. So I've said 1. You then click the setting. And when you're in here, you then choose what button you want to do, the outputs and the control mode. So button, if I click on that, it gives us the option of A short and A long. What they mean by that is a short press or a long press. Then you've got B short long, C short long, and D short long, all for these ones along the bottom here. You've then got the option of setting the upper and lower outputs from PWM. So in one position it'll output 1600, and in the other position it'll output 400. You then got the control mode, and this is basically the option to set between momentary and latching. Keep after key press is latching, so you would press it once to change and press it again to change it again. If you then had it to reset after key release, it would be press and hold to take the action, and then when you release it, that action would go back to the original setting. So momentary or latching, just like on a normal switch. And then once you've set the settings you want for that one, you then simply click save, and then you can see that I've got channel 5 with one key is set to a button A short press after key release. So if I do it,
loiter flight mode.
It's changed the flight mode because that's what I've programmed it to, and do it again.
Stabilized flight mode.
So as you can see, it does change the settings that way, and you can do that for all of the keys along the bottom here. That, as I've said, is for the device itself. There is a second very similar screen to this called radio, and that is for setting the radio settings on the flight controller. And again, there's the option to calibrate, and you will need to do that, as well as doing some other things like mode 1 and mode 2, spectrum bind and copy trims. So the thing to remember with this is joystick is for the settings of the device, radio is for the settings of your flight controller inputs. You will need to do both the calibrations and all of the settings on these. There is a nice and easy way to know which one is which, because if you turn your air transmitter off, the only one that is available is joystick settings. The others disappear. So that means you're doing it on this side and not that side. Moving down to the rest of the settings, these are all that are derived from ArduPilot. So airframe, again, quad X is what I've got it set to. Radio, as I just mentioned, which is the radio controls within ArduPilot. Flight modes, sensors, power, safety, tuning, camera, let me just get rid of that, go away, and parameters, and you can set the overall parameters individually as well. And again, as I've said, this is all driven by Mavlink over your ArduPilot firmware. So that is the basic settings that you get through ArduPilot via the Herelink system. Now, overall, this, as I've mentioned, this is a beta unit. This is all early. So whilst it might look like there's not a lot of settings on it, all of this will change. There is one last set of settings that you need to be aware about, and that is for the smart device itself. And to get to these, you would do it just like any normal Android device. You would pull down from the top. And by doing that, you have the options to set your screen brightness. So set it to the brightness you want to set it. You've then got your Wi-Fi option, your airplane mode, your location, and your hotspot. One thing to be aware of, if you put the device in airplane mode, it will not work and connect to your air system. Something that could affect people is that, so just do be aware of it. If you slap it in airplane mode, it cuts all radio communication out of the device altogether. Just like any other Android device, you've then got the settings for the owner at the top. You've then got the option to see these in a bigger screen. You've then also got your main settings menu. And again, this is the Android settings for the smart device itself. And it is Android 7 in this version, and it's very similar to all of the other devices out there. It really is. So you've got your Wi-Fi, your data usage, you then got your airplane mode tethering. So this is all of the same settings that you would get from any normal Android device. And you actually navigate with these buttons down here. You can click back with these if you want to as well. And then you've got your display brightness and your brightness levels, your wallpaper, your sleep, your screensaver, your font size. So there's all sorts of options within this, and again, it's all of the same that you would get from any normal Android device. So overall, really, there are actually 3 sets of settings, not 2. You've got your device settings for the smart device within it. So to get to them, you pull down from the top. You then have your settings for the device itself when you click the Q in the corner, and that is for the air unit and the ground unit. And then you have the settings for ArduPilot via your Mavlink connection and your telemetry. So there are a lot of settings available on this system. As I have said, this is a beta. This will change dramatically, but I did just want to give you an overview of what you get and what you see. A lot of it is driven by Q ground control, and most of the settings you can see on iOS or Android, so it's nothing that you might not have seen before if you have been using it. If you've never used Q ground control, do go download it, check it out and see what you think. That is it for this video. Sorry, it's probably been a bit of a long one and a bit all over the place. It's quite hard to describe this in a way that makes sense. I've tried to do it a few times already, actually. Again, I want to thank the guys over at 3DXR in the UK for sending this over for me to have a look at. I really do appreciate it, and to be able to share this with you guys. There's going to be a lot more to come from this unit. As I've said, it's beta, it's early days. A lot of changes are going to come yet. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel, and I will do another video again soon. And that is it for this video. If you've liked what you've seen, please do check out, we have over 150 videos on this channel, covering everything from DJI right through to the Pixhawk 2 and various other things. We've also got them separated into playlists as well that help you navigate to the ones that might be relevant for you. If you like what you see on the channel, please do subscribe. There is a subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of every video, and by doing that you will receive updates on any videos that we release in the future. Finally, there are some links to the products we talk about in the description for each video. I would really appreciate it if you are going to buy a product, if you would like to buy via those links. By supporting the channel, it allows us to keep buying products to be able to talk to you guys about. That's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll do another video again soon.